The galactic combat arena floated in the void between star systems, a massive construct of gleaming metal and energy shields where the galaxy's warriors proved their worth. For 3 centuries, it had hosted the Trial of Blades, a tournament where civilized species demonstrated their martial prowess with regulation combat weapons. Practice steel, they called it, dulled edges, waited for safety, approved by the Arena Commission. Philip stood in the preparation chamber, his calloused hands wrapped around something that made the attending officials visibly uncomfortable. The weapon wasn't the sleek, standardized gladius they'd provided. Instead, he held a sword that looked like it had crawled from humanity's bloodiest nightmares a hand and a half, its blade dark with age and covered in scratches that told stories of 1,000 battles. That cannot be permitted, chittered Zelthor, the insectoid arbiter, his mandibles clicking with agitation. Regulations state each warrior may bring 1 blade from their homeworld's martial tradition. Philip interrupted calmly, his gray eyes never leaving the weapon. This is mine. Flora, his second, and the expedition's xenanthropologist, stepped forward with her datapad. Her red hair caught the harsh arena lights as she pulled up the relevant passages. Article 7, Section 3. He's within his rights, Arbiter. The insectoid's compound eyes refracted light as he leaned closer to examine the ancient steel. This weapon is ... real. Combat grade. The edge is sharp enough to split atoms if I wanted it to, Philip said quietly. But I won't need to go that far. Zelthor's translator struggled with the human idiom, producing several confused chirps. Around them, other species representatives had gathered. The Corvathi, massive reptilians who'd won the last 3 tournaments, watched with amusement. Their champion, Droshkar, wore his scales painted in victory colors, and his practice sword regulation durasteel, perfectly balanced, scientifically optimized, dested easily in his clawed grip. The human brings a relic, Droshka rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. Perhaps he thinks antiquity will frighten us. It will not. Flora's jaw tightened, but Philip just smiled. It wasn't a kind expression. We'll see, he said. The arena floor was a perfect circle, 200 meters across, its surface designed to provide equal footing to all combatants. Holographic crowds from 1,000 worlds watched as Philip and Droshkar faced each other beneath the energy dome that would contain their battle. The Corvathi was enormous, nearly 9 feet of scaled muscle and predatory evolution. His species had conquered their homeworld by being the apex predator. They'd brought that mentality to the stars. Philip was 6 feet of scarred flesh and quiet determination. He wore minimal armor leather bracers, a padded jerkin. The long sword rested on his shoulder like it weighed nothing at all. Begin. The Arbiter's voice echoed across the arena. Droshkar charged immediately. His technique flawless, the first offensive pattern of Corvathi, designed to overwhelm opponents with speed and strength. His practice sword came down in an arc that would have stunned most beings. Philip moved. The longsword came off his shoulder in a motion that seemed almost lazy. But it intercepted Droshkar's blade with a sound that made Flora wince, even from the observation deck. The Corvathi's weapon regulation scientifically optimized shattered. The arena fell silent. Droshka stared at the broken hilt in his claw, then at the human who hadn't even seemed to try. You were saying something about relics, Philip asked softly. The Korvathi backup weapons activated energy barriers, gravitic anchors, all the safety systems that were supposed to prevent serious injury. But Philip was already moving, the ancient longsword flowing through forms that predated spaceflight, that came from a time when humans killed each other with enthusiasm and creativity. He didn't need to cut. The flat of the blade struck Droshkar's knee with surgical precision, dropping the massive alien. A reverse strike caught his wrist, and the backup sword clattered away. The point came to rest at the Korvathi's throat, not touching, not cutting, just there, steady as a star. Yield, Philip said. It wasn't a question. Droshka yielded. The remaining matches were formalities. Each species sent their champions, each warrior wielding weapons designed by computers, optimized by algorithms, approved by committees. Each one shattered against steel that had been forged in fires lit by hand, shaped by hammers, swung by masters who learned their craft through years of failure and pain. Flora watched from the observation deck as Philip dismantled the galaxy's finest warriors with a weapon their ancestors might have recognized. The longsword, properly called a bastard sword in human historical texts, had been designed through trial and error, through countless battles where the stakes were survival. No computer optimization, no scientific committee, just brutal, efficient evolution through warfare. When it was over, when Philip stood alone in the arena's center, with the ancient blade still pristine in his grip, Selfar approached with obvious reluctance. "The human is victorious," the arbiter announced, his translator barely managing the words. "But I must ask, why? Why bring such a weapon? You could have used our regulation blades." Philip cleaned the sword with a soft cloth, checking the edge with the casual expertise of someone who'd done this 10,000 times. "Because you asked us to bring a blade from our martial tradition. This is ours. We didn't develop weapons to prove ourselves in tournaments or to follow regulations. We developed them to kill each other efficiently and repeatedly for thousands of years." He slid the longsword into its worn sheath. "We got very good at it." Flora joined him as they left the arena, the sounds of shocked alien commentary fading behind them. "You know they're going to change the regulations now," she said. "Probably," Philip agreed. "But they'll remember this. They'll remember that humans learned war before we learned space travel, that we brought those lessons with us to the stars." "Is that supposed to be reassuring?" Philip smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. "No, Flora. It's supposed to be a warning." Behind them, the galaxy's warriors examined their broken practice steel and wondered what other ancient nightmares humanity might be keeping in its closets. The answer, as they would eventually learn, was plenty.